I think, first of all, just going into the second season with kind of the foundation of what we're trying to get done under our belt, I think that helps us. Initially, when we talked about this going virtually, I wouldn't have thought that it would have gone as well as it has gone, just in terms of the teaching, the communication that we've been able to get through to our players. I thought it was going to be a really stale, tough environment to teach in and to communicate in, but I think we've done well with it. We've had all different kinds of conversations, some of them football, some of them not, but the communication has been great. It's been clear, it's been clean. And I think we've been able to make some headway with going into this second season. And I like where we're at. As answering if it was an advantage or not, the advantage that we did have was going into the second year. But I like what we've been able to accomplish through these meetings on virtually.
And just the other part of it is the skill positions. You have a veteran quarterback back, and you have a core of receivers who played together, a couple of tight ends, and a couple of running backs. How much does that help the overall focus of what you've tried to get done?
It definitely helps. Yes, it definitely helps us having all those skill guys back. Having Matthew back healthy is obviously a huge deal for us. To have all those wide receivers at some point or another being able to get with Matthew here in the off season. The tight ends have been working with him as well, and so it's a great group. They're all eager. They're all ready to go. Obviously, we have some really good talent. We've been able to add some talent as well. At the running back position and things like that. So we're really excited about where we're heading with those guys.
All right, thank you.
So Tim.
Hey Darrell, how's it going? I like the off-season beard you got going on there.
Appreciate it.
Strong effort.
I've never had one before, so it's different for me.
We all saw the report about Jamal Agnew doing some stuff, sitting in on some receiver meetings and stuff like that. Obviously, such a dynamic player with the ball in his hands, returning kicks. How much has he sat in on those wide receiver meetings, and what does he bring to the table if you guys do decide to kind of throw him out receiver and see what he can do?
Yeah, I think you saw a little bit of that right at the end of last year, right, where we kind of brought him over. We gave him a few opportunities on the offensive side of the ball, and I think we really like his skill set. I think you mentioned it, the ball in his hands. He does great things with it. So when you have those type of players, you want to get the ball in their hands. So this offseason, he's spent time in the receiver room pretty much exclusively. So right now we're going to kind of lean that way. And kind of let it go where it goes. So the kind of flipping back and forth and doing that thing, we just wanted to make sure that he could at least have something to concentrate on. So concentrate on the wide receiver position, learning the techniques, learning our verbiage. Since he's already has a good background in our defense, it wouldn't be that hard of a transition for him if he needed to go back. So to be able to learn the offense, learn all the nuances, the things we're asking him to do, be able to, like you say, get the ball in his hands, I think that has a chance to help us.
Mike Rothstein.
Hey, Darrell, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. And I may be wrong here, but I believe that I'm right. Were you around Seattle when Colin Kaepernick came in for a visit in 2017? Were you around? Do you remember him coming in for a visit at all during your time there, or meeting with him?
I do not.
You don't? Okay. What do you think he needs to do to get back into the league at this point? I mean, you've been around teams for a while, and you've been around the league. And do you think he should be back in the league?
I mean, I think the easiest answer is an opportunity. Somebody's got to give him an opportunity to get back in and see where his skill set's at. Just from what I've read and what I've learned is, he's stayed working out. He's been doing all those things that he feels prepared to do that. So. I think that's the biggest thing is he just needs an opportunity.
Do you guys have him planned? Do you have any plans to bring him in for a workout?
That's probably a better question for Bob and Coach. As far as I know, no. But that's still a little bit down the road since bringing him in for a workout, we haven't even been there. So
fair. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
That's if we were there and we were talking about it, I'd be able to give you a better answer there on that. But right now, so no.
And just, I apologize, one last question. Jason Huntley, obviously you haven't been able to work with him at all, but what does his skill set maybe bring to the running backs that either you don't have or that attracted you enough to say, hey, I want him part of this offense?
Yeah, I think the biggest attraction first was his return ability, and the things that he could do in the special teams game. I think we were, trying to add to that. But then obviously as a runner, he's more like a little scat back style, get the same thing, kind of get the ball in his hands, dynamic runner with the ball in his hands. So that's what you're looking to is, you want those guys that you want them to have the ball in their hands because they can make plays for you.
Thanks.
Let's go Chris Burke next.
Hey, Darrell. Thanks for doing this. Just a couple quick ones here. One just on DeAndre Swift, just what you like about him initially and sort of how you think he fits with the offense and with the backfield. And then the second part, I know there's a lot of the offseason spent evaluating and reevaluating what you did last year. Just wondering if anything jumped out at you that was a surprise for you or felt different with some time to sort of process it that maybe didn't stand out as the season was going on.
Yeah. So DeAndre Swift, we're super excited to have him. We feel like he's a really talented, well-rounded running back. A guy that that you feel like could handle the run game, but as well as that, he has ability in the pass game where you could do some things with him there. Really just a complete guy. So to be able to add him in there with Carry On, with Bo. Such a good group there. And then, there's still other guys. I mean, Ty's there, Huntley's there. It's going to be just a really competitive room. I think that's what you're trying to do at each and every position is get the room as competitive as you can. Let the cream rise to the top and you'll end up with a really good team when you're doing that. So super good player, super talented. And I think you're able to do a lot of things with him. He can handle, as much as you want to give him. And then as far as the offseason, the offseason scheme evaluation, it's always fun to go back and look at all the things that we've done, look at the plays like you think you ran it, 30 times and you ran it 5 or, because you get the practice reps kind of in your brain with the other reps, so there's a lot of takeaways from it. I mean, we probably could spend some time, but I think one of the biggest ones that probably hit me was, we're always talking about finishing. And we had 10 games where we had the lead going into the fourth quarter, and we had another game where we were tied in the fourth quarter. So I think that tells you that, we were doing some good things. We were in a lot of games, but we weren't able to finish those. I think we were 3-7-1 or something in those games. And that tells me that we can do better in that area. Fourth quarter, we got to pick it up. We got to finish. This is something that we preach all the time. And I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways that I took from it.
Thank you.
Justin Rose.
Hey, Darrell, just wondering, with all the, not in person, all the virtual stuff, the implementation, are you guys at where you think you need to be at this point of the season or off season? Not quite where you need to be, or are you ahead of schedule?
Kind of a tough question to answer, I mean, I'm comfortable with what we've been able to get accomplished through the virtual meetings. Obviously, we didn't have this off season to see the physical side of the game for them, whether it was, what type of shape, what type of rehab, what type of like the work that they've done in this off season with the guys that are coming back, as well as, what exactly does DeAndre Swift bring, or, seeing Jonah and seeing Cephas and, the guys that we evaluated on tape, but we really didn't get to go out, see them in person, and then start to put our twist on it for them. So I don't know. Are we ahead? Are we behind? We don't know those guys like we normally would at this point. But as far as the mental side and the things we've been able to get done virtually, I'm comfortable with where we're at.
Everybody else is in that boat as well, as far as other teams is not quite sure. But Matthew Stafford, just if you could update us on maybe his excitement level. Does he seem like the same old guy after, rebounding back from this injury? Is he more excited to get back out there and lead? Just kind of give us what your sense is, where he's at.
Yeah, I am. I just love this guy. I really like what he's bringing in the meetings. I mean, whether it's in the individual meetings that we're having, whether it's an offensive meeting or speaking up in the team meeting, I think he's really doing a great job with his leadership. He is super excited. I mean, you sit out half the season, it kind of can give you, a sense of where you're at. And I think he's really chomping at the bit and excited to get back with his teammates, really get back out there on the field, and continue this thing and, start winning a bunch of games. There's no question in my mind that he's really excited to do that.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
John Neo.
Hey, Darrell, to go back to Mike's maybe original question a little bit, I wonder if I could take you back to the lockout year, what you remember from that experience, because you're sort of on the flip side, if I remember right. That was probably your first year in Seattle. What difficulties did that present? It's a little slightly different scenario, but I wonder how you would compare that to what you're doing now, being in year two.
Yeah, I mean, probably the difference is that we've been able to still to have all the meetings, and still communicate with the guys that way. I think that would be the biggest difference, from the lockout year when we weren't there, and the players weren't there. Sometimes I do I have this, my wife will attest to this, but I have this ability just to flush things so, if it's a good experience or bad experience, I think she calls it purge and dump. I don't know how I do it, but the lockout's almost gone. It was so long ago, I can't even remember half that stuff. So, but that's the one thing I remember.
And specifically, I guess, in terms of what's missed with the on-field OTAs, et cetera, the offensive line, is that the one area where maybe it's felt the most, particularly for you guys with some new faces there?
Yeah, it's probably the place that we have the most newness, in terms of, we have, obviously new right tackle. We have some guard positions up in the air. So, you always like those guys, those five guys, to be working together as much as they can. We rotate some of those guys in to try to find the comfort level where guys next to each other have to, the right hand needs to know what the left hand's doing. So that communication, those kind of things are something that we'll have to get up to speed pretty quick. With this being said, we don't even know what training camp's going to look like at this point. We don't know how long it's going to be. I mean, we've heard anything from, we're going to have extra week time for ramping up. And, so hopefully all that stuff will be able to be handled in that time. I don't think we're going to go back and hit the games right away. So, but that is definitely an area, the offensive line, where I like to have those guys really working together. And, we're still making headway on these Zoom calls. There's great communication going in the individual meetings and the offensive meetings, but, still, like I said, playing next to a guy and getting used to, how they come off a twist or, how they hit a combination. I think those are things that you can't replace in these meetings.
Thanks, Darrell.
Nick Baumgartner.
Hey, Darrell, thanks for doing this. I'll piggyback off John's question about the offensive line. With the three guys, Hal Vaitai, Stenberg, and Jonah Jackson, that you're bringing in here, what maybe do you hope that you guys can? I know obviously you can't, you don't know until you get them on the field. But what are you hoping that they can maybe bring to you guys up front that maybe either you didn't have last year, maybe you didn't have enough of? What's sort of the hope there?
Okay, I just want to make sure I heard you right. So you said Vaitai, Jonah, and Logan, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think, well, first of all, Vaitai is a big human, like those guys up front. But also, I think it's, I think if I think back to what Frank maybe was talking to you guys about that toughness, and when you look at those guys with Jonah and with Logan, those guys, I think they bring that mentality. It's a lunch pail, so to speak, type of group, guys that they kind of like to hurt. They kind of like to hurt the opponent as well. And it's really a mentality. And all you got to do is turn Logan's tape on, and you can see that in him and Jonah as well. Got to talk to Logan about he kind of goes over the top sometimes. I think he had like 14 penalties. So we got to cut that back. But you like that mentality. I think that's kind of what I'm trying to get across. Is you really want those those tough, nasty grinders, because that's what it is in the run game. It's it's a grown man's type of game. And, I've always talked on here that that's something that we really want to hang our hat on, and we weren't able to do it as well as we wanted to last year. And so hopefully some of these additions will be able to help us do that.
Tim?
Darrell, I'm curious your comfort level of having a veteran quarterback like Chase Daniel in that room. A little bit different than what was there last year. A guy who's been in the league a long, long time, seen a lot of different stuff, played West Coast offense, so there's probably some familiarity with your scheme and the wordage there. And just what benefit does having a guy like that in that room with Matthew Stafford and having someone kind of in his ear? What does he bring to the table in that regard?
Yeah, I really like the addition of Chase. He's just done a great job kind of, seamlessly transitioning into that quarterback room. I think there's already a great camaraderie in the room. All three of the quarterbacks from Texas, so those two played against each other in high school and all that. So, but, just the knowledge that Chase has, the things that he's seen, the experience that he's had on the field, I think you're never, you've never arrived, you've never got it as a quarterback, and there's still things that you can learn. There's still things you can communicate. So I think just having another set of eyes for Matthew to talk different things through, just whether it's protection, whether it's a progression, or when you come off to the sideline, we haven't had that yet, but when you come off to the sideline, that veteran presence, that, the guy can, kind of nudge him or talk to him or speak to him in a different way than probably I would there on the sideline. I think that's something that he really can bring. And then obviously you need a guy that can step in the event that something happens and still be able to play at a high level. And, he's shown that he can do that he can lead a team, he can win games. I'm eager to get with him on the field. He's been great in the meeting rooms. We've had some really good one-on-one conversations, some good viewing of tape and talking about what we're doing. So I can't wait to get out there and see him on, the physical side and, kind of grow with that.
All right, we got time for 3 more questions, starting with Ken.
Hey, Darrell, how you doing?
Good.
I got a 2-part question. One is usually when offensive coordinator comes in the first year, he doesn't install his whole offense, and it evolves from that point. With this shortened or different offseason, are you able to install more of what you wanted to do or you thought you would be able to do after your second year? And the second part is, after the first game last year, Hockenson looked like he might even become a feature tight end. I don't know where he's at with injury, but do you see him and Jesse James being featured more this year in the pass game?
Okay, so good questions in terms of, so the first part, coming in, obviously, I think the first thing that you're trying to do is learn the personnel. And, that was something I tried to do last year. And then I think you have to have some starting point. So when I came in, brought the offense, a lot of it has to do with the verbiage, as you guys know. So, got that all installed. And then there was a set of core plays, that it's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to hang our hat on. And then as you continue to learn your guys, what their strengths, weaknesses are, whether it's, I don't know, how you can protect or how guys run routes or what their best things are, then you start to tweak that. And I think that happened all throughout the year. So where we are right this minute is different than where we were at the beginning of the season, if that makes sense, or when I first came in. So there's still some of those core plays that are there because, we were good at them, we did them well, but then it's already evolved into where it is right now. And so we're putting those things in and teaching that. As far as TJ, TJ came out, like you said, with a bang in that first game. We were obviously really excited about what he did in that game and kind of, what we thought he could do and what we saw of him. It kind of tailed off. Obviously, he didn't have that huge of a game again, but it kind of tailed off. But as far as both those guys go, I just had a conversation with Jesse 2 days ago or 3 days ago. And, it's my job to help those guys get more involved. And, the good part about the job is, I got all these weapons, and that's also the bad part about the job. There's only one ball. And so I talked to Jesse about getting Jesse more involved. But all those guys need to be able to have opportunities to touch the ball, whether they're the skill guys on the outside or whether it's, the easiest way, obviously handing it to those running backs. And got to be able to find a good mix, be able to keep the defenses honest And, you'll see, just kind of like last year, you'll see a tight end have a big game. You see a wideout have a big game. Sometimes that's, scheme. Sometimes it's matchup. It's what the defense is presenting to us or who they're putting on guys. So I think you'll still see it move around in terms of who gets the ball, but definitely it's something that I've talked to those guys about getting them more involved where they're showing up and having games like that.
Mike Rothstein.
Yeah. Hey, Darrell. I asked the same question to Corey. It's a two-part question. And just that first, what's your comfort level with coming back to the facility, being around, 100, 120 other people with the COVID pandemic going on? And secondly, what conversations have you had with your coaches already on the offensive side of what happens if, COVID takes over, and both Matthew and Chase end up having COVID, or 3/5 of the offensive line has COVID and they're unavailable? Have you started to have those conversations of how you even start to plan in that possibility?
Yeah. So my comfort level, I've been pretty much stowed up at my house, for the most part here. So I've gone to Costco twice, I think, and they make you wear a mask. I've gone to pick up my daughter from school or from a conditioning thing twice. So I haven't really even left the house that much. But my comfort level is I'm dying to get back to work. I want to get back there. I think that I feel like that the NFL is going to put us in the best situation that we can have. That they'll put in policies in order for us to be as safe as we can. I think we've seen, with the mask, the washing your hands, and the social distancing and those things have worked. So, I'm sure that'll be part of some of it, but it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be so different, so foreign from what we've been able to do. But if we're ready to go back to work, I'm ready. And, we'll just do the policies and things that we need to. The second part of your question is, it's just crazy times. It's so unknown. I saw the comments by, I don't know, it might've been Bruce Arians about like keeping a quarterback somewhere in quarantine, in case you need him. It almost like seems like a great idea. It's like, what do you do? I don't think there's any way to know, how it would hit your team, who it would hit. There's not an unlimited roster. There's not unlimited places where you can stow people. So, you're going to have your guys that you have. And if guys start getting sick or whatever, I don't know, Mike, I don't know how to even answer it because what are you going to do? If you lose that many guys, I don't know if I have an answer. I don't know if the league has an answer. But I do know that we went through 3 quarterbacks last year, or a number of quarterbacks last year. So ready to do that if we need to. But I don't want to do that. But we'll see how it goes.
Just really quick.
Good answer.
Yeah, I say just really quick though. Do you feel like the league before whether it's training camp or the start of the season, because like you said, you just don't know what the answer would be. Do you feel like the league should have some sort of protocol or some sort of something in place in case something like that happens to a whole position group?
Yeah, it would seem to make sense. I don't know if it's, like right now we have 90 guys, right? So you would feel more comfortable, like if this was your roster, that all the guys have practiced, they know your stuff, they know your verbiage. But I don't think that's realistic, with how the league goes. But I think those are conversations that are probably being had right now. I think the focus has just been so much on just like one segment at a time. They were just worried about, hey, let's just get it. How are we going to do the off season? All right, let's just get through the draft. Let's just get through the virtual periods. And, I think they're just starting to have some of those, seems to me that they're just starting to have some of those conversations now. And, but those are all great questions. I just don't think we know right now.
Thanks, Darrell. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, Carlos, last question.
Hey, Darrell, just a couple quick questions on TJ Hawkinson. Can you tell us where he is physically, what his level is, if he's full go, or where your sense is of where he is physically right now from that ankle? And 2, rookie tight ends, even the great ones, tend to struggle their first year. What is it that gives you confidence maybe that he can make that leap and have an even better season his second year?
Yeah, as far as I know right now, he's in his running part of the protocol. So he's on land, he's running routes, doing that thing. I don't think you can't say he's 100% yet, but I think he's well on the way to getting there. He's done a great job with his rehab. He's always been a good worker that way. So I know he's going to get some time with Matthew and, throwing and catching. So, yeah, so I'm comfortable with where he's at along the rehab part. And then, I thought TJ came in and really did a good job for us. I think he's emerging as like one of the leaders for us. Just obviously you got to come in and get a comfort level, but he's a confident kid. He's willing to speak up. He wants to be really good at his position, so he puts in the time to do that. I just gotta, like I said earlier, I just have to continue to get him opportunities to get the ball. I think one of the things that just throw out there is he's got to continue to work on finishing plays. When he's going to the ground with the ball, I think you guys can remember a couple of those, but he really is a tireless worker, and he just does a great job. He's always asking what he can do better, what he can improve on, and he's willing to do anything that we ask. So I like that about him. But again, just more opportunities for me, giving them chances to be able to make plays for us.
All right. Thanks, Coach. And thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Darrell.
Too easy, but thank you. It's always good to see you guys.